Test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Let's get this going. Oh, come on. There we go. Sorry, everyone, for who is rewatching this. You get to watch me do all of the pre-work. Let's see if I did it right. No, I did not. Oh, crap. I do not want text. Crap. Come on. Stop. 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 Patreon, you are annoying sometimes. Delete. Delete. Let's do this right. Live stream. Use YouTube Live. Ban. Come chat with. No, right now. 57. Publish now. Publish now. There we go. Is anyone even here? Hans, how's it going? You get to watch me fumble through trying to set this up. Can you hear me all right, Hans? Let's see. I'm just making sure this is all good. All good. Okay, there we go. Let's delete this one. Come on, delete. There we go. Okay. Good. I'm glad you can hear and see me. How are you doing, Hans? Hans, where are you from? Because I'm from Ohio now. Oh, we got 4 people watching. Jason, how's it going, Jason? Jason, you're always pulling through on these streams. You're a good friend. You got 5 people watching now. Yeah, I apologize for anyone who's rewatching this. You just spent about 4 minutes watching me struggle to put this on the stream. So, yeah. Cool. 5 people. What can I do for you 5 people? How are you guys doing today? Because it is nice here in Ohio. You can see that my room's changed a little bit. It's because I am no longer in California. I am in Columbus. Let's see how Facebook is going. Oh boy. We got 9 people there. What else we got? Hi, Mr. Nicholas. How's it going? How is Sweden these days? I bet it is nice and warming up, maybe? I don't know. Nancy, how is it going? Nancy, did you just join Patreon, or have you been on for a while? Jason, what are some personal highlights of the road trip for you? Well, I'm sure the guys have talked ad nauseum about it, but I'm getting a lot of comments here. But I think my favorite part was probably Louisiana, southern Louisiana near New Orleans. I just didn't. I think the problem, it's not that the nature and the beauty of it was better than the Southwest. I just think I had such low expectations. Not to say that I shouldn't say low expectations. I had no expectations for what southern Louisiana was going to be like. And when we got there, we were just blown away by the food, the culture, the environment, everything there just kind of caught us off guard. I know Andrew's favorite part was canoeing. I think my whole part was the food and the night we spent on the plantation. That was just something entirely different. So that was great. Hans asked how butt clenching was Angel's Landing. It was pretty darn up there. I don't know if you guys have seen Robby's vlog from a few days ago, but he did a great job of just kind of showing the highlights without showing too much from what will be in the episode of what Angel's Landing was like. Let me say a quick hi to Mike, Nancy again. William McKean, how are you? Thanks for joining, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm here for the next hour or so, so we'll go from there. Serena, nice to see you. And Sanwar, this is your first live stream. Welcome. I'm sorry you get to watch me. All the guys, you get to watch me. Let me go up to the top here. So yeah, for me, Angel's Landing certainly was butt clenching. I thought though that Whitney, going on the back part of Whitney, that was worse for me. Probably because my legs were already wobbly, while Angel's Landing, it was only just a quick hike up and you're already up there. So my legs were fine. Altitude was just fine. I don't know if Robby was being dramatic or if it was getting to him a little easier, but we were only about 5,000 feet elevation, whereas Whitney, we were at 14,000. So that's just under 3 times the height of it. Mike, I know it's still early on the West Coast. That's why I wanted to do this a little later. The guys usually do theirs at 8 o'clock, but because I know I got a few of you guys over on the West Coast, 9 o'clock's good because you're either just getting out or you've been out of work for an hour or so. Nancy, that's right. You have been on for almost a year, and we appreciate that. I don't know why I just thought you had just joined. I know I've seen your name almost like a lot. I don't know why. Nicholas, I don't know if it warms up or not. It was summer weather last week and it's back to winter. That's how it is in the Midwest too. It was just snowing about a week and a half ago, and I was in Nashville this morning and it was nice and warm, and it's finally warming up here in Columbus too. So that's good. How am I adjusting? Sanmore asks, how am I adjusting being back home? It's surprisingly, it's been a lot of work just trying to move my stuff in and get used to being in a different place. I'm currently living back home, and I don't know if that's full permanently, or temporarily until I get started with school. It doesn't make sense to get a new place while I'm in school because I don't have a job like I did in California. So we'll figure that out. But it is good to be home. It's good to be around green trees. The problem is that only some of the trees are green because we have a very late spring here. I am missing the mountains terribly, though. That's for sure. Serena, what was my favorite part of the road trip? I kind of just answered this, but I'll add a little bit more to it. I did love Louisiana, southern Louisiana, because I had no expectations for that place and blown away by the culture and the food in particular. I'd say aside from that, though, I know this is kind of a cop-out, but I really love going back to Mount Whitney, Lone Pine. We spent a night there before hitting Death Valley in Vegas. That was beautiful. Zion, of course, is great. I was kind of worn out by the time we got to Monument Valley, so I didn't get to appreciate that as much as I wanted to. Albuquerque was fantastic. Texas was just like you'd expect Texas to be. It was great. Honestly, we were so lucky with this road trip that there was something going on all the time. Best meal, I'll say, was we got some real good Cajun food in Louisiana. And I think the worst meal was also Cajun food in Louisiana, on the plantation. I really love the plantation. They were great. They said that they recommend ordering food there. And I thought that they bring the food to your cabin hot, but no, they bring it to you cold and they stick it in your fridge. And so we had to use our microwave to heat up some crawfish etouffee and all this. Well, what I'm sure was tremendously great Cajun food. The problem is you just had to heat it up in the microwave yourself. I don't know. I have like a weird moral thing against microwaves. If I don't have to use them, I don't. And I had to just to heat up the red beans and the crawfish and the it just felt wrong. No, it's all good, Serena. Did I get tired of being on the road? I am one of those weird people who really likes to drive. Tim, by the way, it was great seeing you in Nashville too. I was just there the other day, and I'm heading back a few more times pretty soon. Yeah, mountain withdrawal. That's for sure. I'll say I've already put on a few pounds since I've gotten back, just because the food has been easy to get, and I have not been able to hike. But yeah, I'm already planning a few more road trips to the East Coast where I can hike some Appalachian mountains. Is it Mount Krakatoa? Not Krakatoa. Yeah, I think it might be Mount Krakatoa. I'm sure you guys can feel free to correct me, but yeah, Mount Krakatoa, the terminus for the Appalachian Trail. Juan Carlos, great to see you. It's great seeing you in California. Good to see you back here. Serena, what am I looking forward to most in grad school? Honestly, the connections, because I'm going to business school. So, I've had a lot of friends go to grad school, and they've told me it's a lot of business, a lot of work, a lot of essays, a lot of reading. And I'm sure there's a lot of that in business school, but from what I've heard, it's a very different experience from something that like my parents or, people who've gone down a more academic route than somebody who's looking to go into marketing or looking for real world experience. Because academics, I don't want to be a professor or get a PhD in anything. I'm really just looking to learn to be a better manager and figuring out how to best use my skills and honestly grow my skills as a marketer. But that's a conversation, honestly, for here too. We could talk about it, but I'm just looking forward to learning new things, meeting new people, and finding out what I want to do with the rest of my life. I'd love to work for REI. I've mentioned that before. I'd love to work for anything. I don't know what I want. And that's kind of the beauty of grad school, I guess, figuring out what I want. Nancy, how cool was it that you met your viewers and fans? It was fantastic. We had a great meetup. And Nancy, did I meet you? What are you the Nancy that I'm thinking of? The one in Santa Barbara? What? Pull up on Instagram. Make sure that you are Nancy, the Nancy that I'm thinking of. I'm so sorry, Nancy. I'm pretty sure you are the Nancy I'm thinking of. Because I met somebody, and I wasn't sure if it was you. No, I'm sorry, Nancy. It was fantastic. Tim in Nashville was fantastic. The Parkers were great. James Blackburn, fantastic. And then everyone we got to meet is like Juan Carlos, who's on the chat here. It was humbling. Is like such a Mount Katana. That's right. It was such a humbling experience, and somebody messaged me and said that they were nervous to meet me, and I said I was probably 10 times more nervous to meet you guys because I don't think I could live up to expectations. And being on camera is one thing, and then being in person's another thing. So I was blown away by the generosity, the kindness of everyone, and I really am so appreciative of that. Let's see what else I got. William, I feel bad that you invested so much time and money into mountaineering gear and the mountaineering course only to move to a place with virtually no mountains. I hope to get back into it. I was in the first few days. I was already looking at new routes or guides up to Mount Rainier, uh, the Grand Teton, Mount Hood, all those places. But the problem is those are so expensive, and I need to be in better shape to do those. And honestly, there are some mountaineering routes in the Appalachian near Vermont and New Hampshire that I've heard of, and you can actually take mountaineering courses there. So I might look into those once we once I get settled a little bit, but we'll go from there. Sanwar, do you see yourself moving back to West Coast post college? California sunshine can be addicting. Yes. I don't know if it's going to be California. I'll be honest. California, anywhere is kind of expensive. And as much as I'd love to live outside Yosemite, I don't know how practical that will be unless I can start a business there or join a business. But I'm not ruling Seattle out. I'm not ruling Colorado out, Utah. I love Wyoming. I love Montana. And I'm also looking on the East Coast too. I've had so many people recommend the city Asheville, North Carolina to me. And so I need to go down there and check it out sometime this summer. I wish I had like some plan, but I feel like the only plan I have right now is figure out a plan. And that's the best I can do right now. Have you done any hiking in Washington State? Not Washington, but Oregon a little bit, just with a friend, no backpacking, just a few day hikes near the Mount Hood area. I think I did a video on that, but I'd love to check out Washington. Jason, really enjoyed your Vasquez video. Thank you. When you hiked in the warmer months in LA, did you ever carry a snake bite kit? No, I didn't. When I first moved to LA, I ran into like 3 rattlesnakes in the first month I started hiking. And I always felt like, oh, I need to learn everything I can about snakes. And so I spent maybe a few hours researching just like how they attack, how many people die from snake bites. It's surprising how few people actually die from snake bites. If you get bit, most places out there have the anti-venom you need to thin your blood when you get bit. I heard that most bites from adult snakes are not lethal. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go to a hospital. It just knowing those things really calmed me down a little bit more. Once I saw another snake on the trail, I was like, okay, I can handle myself now. But snake bite kits, I mean, honestly, no matter if you get bit or if you don't get bit, you still got to go to a hospital. And I'm sure that the snake bite kit could do something. I guess if you're backpacking, that's another situation. But I only went on day hikes, and if I got bit, it would just be a painful walk back to the car or a painful walk back to someplace where I could call 911. But I never did. I never did. Serena, I have a feeling that grad school help you hone into what you'd like to do in the future, and I appreciate that. I hope so too. Nancy, are you in Los Angeles? Is that where you are right now? And we would have loved to have met you too. Unfortunately, that time is, I'm not going to say it's gone completely, but it'll be a little while before we have any more meetups in California. And I'm not sure if that's Clint or Melody from the State Parkers, but it's good to see you guys. Tim, if you're Nashville and for the weekend, I would love to take you to South Cumberland State Park for a day hike to get over my upcoming knee surgery. Absolutely, I'd love to do that too, especially if I can get the guys going. Unfortunately, my trips down there are for my sister's, something my sister's doing down there. So it's kind of like an in and out thing. But I know the guys loved going down Broadway, even though it was pretty touristy. So it won't be hard to convince them to come back. Zanwar, what do you think the strongest and weakest part of Avenger Archives is? What do you think could be improved? So this is kind of up for debate, and I'm sorry, I'm getting down to your questions, Serena and William. I promise. There's not a whole lot of questions, so I got a whole lot of time to answer everything. This has kind of been up for debate. I kind of think that we should do some more focusing on culture as much as we do nature. I don't know how many of you watch Anthony Bourdain, but he does a great job of mixing culture with food. And those kind of really go hand in hand because a culture in a way is definitely definitely influenced by the geography around it, and the geography based on the plants, what resources they have available dictates the food that they can grow. So in West Virginia, which I just watched an episode of his about West Virginia, came out yesterday, and it was fantastic. And so he's sitting around a bunch of people in West Virginia, and they're eating squirrel. And I can tell you, as somebody from the suburbs in Ohio, we only joked about eating squirrels. Never actually thought anyone actually did that until I met some folks from West Virginia, and they were fantastic. They were like, "Oh no, you're not kidding. We actually eat squirrels." And that, in a way, dictates the culture. Now, I don't think our show should turn into all about food. Food is definitely an aspect about our show. I just sometimes wonder if there's a way to blend nature and culture together, because a lot of times it's just us talking and goofing around on camera. But I'd love to get some more people from certain areas talking about what they do. Food can be an aspect, or hiking can be an aspect, or history can be an aspect. I don't really know, but it just, for me, sometimes when part of the reason I thought the Japanese, the Japan episode was so good was you had so much of the culture in that video, and I'd love to see more of that. The problem is I feel like that's something that a lot of our fans aren't used to, and it'd be kind of a rude awakening or cold water to the face if we suddenly switched it like that. So we're sort of incorporating that into our Southwest and our Deep South episode from this road trip, and we'll see how that goes. I have a plan in the books for Gettysburg, which will introduce a little bit more history, less culture, but more history. But I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on culture. Weakest, it was kind of my weakest point, but I think our strongest point has always been a camaraderie of the group. Sometimes I think ultimately that's the glue that holds us together, or holds our show together, is how good we interact on camera, because it can sometimes be like when I watch my own videos, I get bored watching my own videos because it's just me talking to a camera. Kind of same with Robby's videos. I love Robby's vlogs, are beautifully shot, so well edited. But at the end of the day, you can only watch a guy talk to the camera for so long. And when you have four people joking around, getting into arguments, sharing in great experiences, that's really, I think, what separates us from a lot of other content out there. Sorry, I'm getting behind on my comments. Clinner Melody said, "I'm pretty sure you left a shirt at our apartment, and I'm pretty sure I wore it the other day." I got to check that out. I have not been on YouTube for a while, so I got to check to see if that was in a video. But I'd love to see which shirt it was. You think it was? You think it was my shirt, or do you think it was the guy's shirts? Because I'm pretty sure I have all my shirts, unless it's a Zelda shirt. Would I ever move to Alaska? I'm sure there's a romantic aspect in me that would love to move to Alaska. The practicality of it is very not there right now for me. I love the idea of closing myself into a cabin for long winters and chopping wood, but after I moved home, I could barely mount a shelf, let alone a picture frame. So I gotta work on some practical handyman skills before I start trying to build cabins of my own. Yeah, I've been to Toronto. I would love to go back to Toronto this summer. I need to finish moving in so I can start planning these trips, because I am all down for that. All it takes is some gas money, some time, and the willingness to go film another adventure. And heck, I'll go up to Toronto absolutely again. William, if you're in Toronto, if both of you guys are in Toronto, I'd love to see you guys. And Jason, if you're in Toronto, I'd love to see you as well. Serena, your friend in Texas, hunts and eats squirrels. If I happen to be served one, I would totally not turn it down. I would love just to try it out. It's important to other people's cultures, so I'd love to check it out sometime. Amy, I think that's how you pronounce it. Amy, that's true. I enjoy the camaraderie of you guys too. Oh, thank you. I'm curious to see how much we edited, how much we filmed, how much we're going to edit, and how bad it will look. There was a night in Zion when the guys were really pissing me off, and I was pissing the guys off. We were all really hungry. Andrew was taking forever to light the fire because he refused to use it the fast way, which was he wanted to feather stick 30 different sticks when we had perfectly good fat wood there for the kindling and for the tinder. And I was sitting there on 2 stakes. The guys were mad at me because I bought 2 steak, two not flat iron. Yeah, they were flat iron steaks. They thought we only needed 1. Robby was so hungry he ate an entire loaf of bread. He wasn't even hungry for anything after that. I was hungry. Bryan was hungry. Andrew was hungry. We were all so pissy with each other. And then the fire went up. I started cooking. I wouldn't let anyone else touch my cast iron, which still needs to be cleaned. And at the end of the day, everything was good, but there was definitely tempers going, and so that's the other side of the camaraderie coin, which is because we're all so close with each other, we have no filter and holding back and being overly critical. Myself, probably more than anyone, is the most critical of everyone in the group. I'm also really self-critical too, which can be a good thing too. So anyway, yeah, that's the flip side to that. Thomas, how's it going? From Thomas. Thomas here. Nice to see you, Thomas. How's it going? Gettysburg would be awesome. Trying the Civil War would work well, I think. I think so too. I think it needs to be done well. I used to be really into the Civil War, and in fact, everything in my room here used to be Civil War-ish inspired because that was a big part of me in my middle school and high school. I'd look at maps, I'd memorize the formations. I could tell you about the hook at Gettysburg and where Pickett's charge happened, and the 20th Maine used their swinging door effect to fight the rebels. But that's kind of gone away, and especially nowadays, you have to do that in a way that's very respectful to everyone. And we want to make sure that we do that right. So that'll take some time and some good planning, which will be a good project for me, I think. You and Bryan both left shirts, and you're not getting them back. That's fair. Hey, if we left the shirt, that's fair. Jason, I like the idea you posed. Readventure Archives. I think Bourdain's works. Yeah, no, his is fantastic. I'm in Delta, British Columbia, in the suburbs of Vancouver, unfortunately. Gotcha. Well, I'd love to go there too. There's some talk about taking a trip to Banff, but that's still in the works and not truly solidified. Are you excited to do? What are you excited to do during your break before school starts? From Serena. Serena, I already have a road trip planned for the East Coast. I'd love to go all the way up to Maine, stopping by New York because I haven't been to New York City since August 2001. So a lot's changed since then. But Maine, Vermont, I've always wanted to check out Vermont. Upstate New York, the Alleghenies. This would probably be a personal road trip, and if anything, I would just film my own adventures, kind of in the same way that I used to film them back in LA. Mostly because I kind of want to go at my own pace, and I got a lot of friends in New York, and I don't think it's fair for the guys to be stuck with me trying to do my own thing in New York. So that might be my own personal venture, but we'll see. We'll see. Regarding starting ASAP, I don't know, hungry. Yeah, no, when you're hungry, everything is off the table. Tempers go away. I have not filmed a lot of stuff because of how hungry I was. I was like, I just screw it. I can't do this. I'm here. You get a shot of me starting off, like quickly starting one thing of fire, and then poof, here we go, and I'm eating already because I am hungry and I don't want to film. The guys are much better at it than I am. Amy, I'm sure viewers will understand. If anything, you guys can put it in the bloopers just for patrons. Yes, there will certainly be something in the bloopers for that. With steak on the horizon, I would have snapped too if the fire was taking long to get going. And in my defense, it was a beautiful, beautiful steak. I don't know if you guys saw the video I posted. Different group of friends. I took them to Death Valley, and I cooked some tri-tip in my cast iron, and it turned out beautifully too. A little bit more well done than I wanted to, but it was evenly cooked, so well seasoned, and we chomped on that so hard. It was good. Was it tough saying from William? Was it tough saying goodbye to all your friends you had to presumably? Yeah, no, it was tough. I did this thing where I said goodbye to them countless times. So by the time I actually said goodbye, they were already sick of me, which was good because I don't really like emotional goodbyes, and plus I don't really like goodbyes in the first place because hardly ever are they really goodbyes. And I also don't really want to say goodbye to anyone, no matter what. So yeah, I mean, the time I spent with them was great. There were certainly some emotions, but I Southern California, the Sierras mean so much to me that, and this is probably a bad thing to say, I will go back for the mountains no matter what. I don't know what would have to happen for me to come back and visit a friend on a yearly basis. But if I know Mount Whitney or Mount Baldy is there, that gives me such a great excuse to go visit all those friends again on a much more regular basis because I got to hike those mountains. I really got to hike those mountains again. So, but I can talk about this though. I have a few friends. I only recently got them into hiking. They're never hikers. And I say I got them into hiking. They were interested in hiking. They didn't know where to go, and so they would start off by going to Griffith Park or Runyon Canyon, all the places everyone who lives in LA goes to because that's where the celebrities go. Like the places that are 10, 20 minutes away from where they live. I started taking them. I had a rule, which was I'll drive, I'll pay for gas, you bring the snacks. And so anyone who would fit in my car, I would take. And in the last 6 months before I left, I started taking them to a lot of places I've already filmed, so I didn't have to feel like I needed to film again, just for the experience. And so I took them to Wind Wolves, I took them to Baldy. I wish I had taken them to Wilson, took them to Point Magoo. And that was, I felt like I was finally able to like share it and pass it on in a way. And it didn't really hit home until the other day when I was on Instagram and I saw a bunch of my friends going to this place, going to Wind Wolves, which is this place that not a whole lot of people in LA know about because I showed them that place. And on one hand, I was very sad because I missed that location already, but I was pretty emotional just because I was like, oh, these guys are going now and they don't, they're going on, they're doing this thing that I love. And because I showed them this place. So part of that's a little egotistical, I guess, but it was nice seeing them carry on something that I introduced to them and I love doing myself. Okay, I'm getting behind here. What's my favorite cut of steak? So I'm trying to get into meat a little bit more and I'm trying to understand the different cuts of steak. I used to really like flat iron, and that's not me saying I don't like it because I love flat iron. I only recently got into flank steak, which is a lot thinner, but I never realized how delicious it is and how cheap it is. And it's perfect because you get one flank steak at the grocery store near where I lived, and that would feed me for a reasonable price. It would be between $4 and $7, $7 on a bad day, $4 on a good day. You could throw that on a cast iron skillet. Just use some kosher salt and some fresh pepper. and that thing was so good because it had like just the perfect amount of fat and everything. Um, as for good steak, I will say I did have right before I left, I splurged and I bought a week old or 2 week old, 2 week dry aged steak. It was ridiculously overpriced, but I would love to learn how to do that myself. And it was so flavorful. But anyway, I don't know what cut of steak that is, so I'm trying to learn, and then I haven't really been able to do anything since I've been trying to move in. So, but that's one more thing I want to pick up. Okay, what else? Could you talk a little bit about your job in LA, Nancy? What do you tend to think about when you hike? Oh, that's a tough one. All right, I'll get to both of yours. So, my old job in LA was uh, testing movie and movie assets for a studio. So what we would do is you have a movie and you would put that movie in front of a test audience. And based on the feedback from that test audience, you would make recommendations to the studio or to the director as to what to change. So, for instance, this isn't true, but using a movie that just came out, I'm not going to do Avengers because that's too spoilery, and I'm not going to do Last Jedi because Last Jedi was pretty untouchable. Let's talk about Solo, hypothetically Solo, because this isn't true. This is just me making it up as an example. The Han Solo movie is coming out. Disney has a lot riding on it because it's a new movie, so they probably screened it for one audience, maybe, and all those people had to sign an NDA, making sure that they don't disclose anything. Well, based on the audience's responses, they may have loved it, they may have hated it. Let's say, for the sake of this example, they hated it. Why did they hate it? Was it too funny? Was it too serious? Did no one know how to act? Was the ending bad? So, based on those responses, it would have been my job to collect that. I don't work for Disney, by the way, and to write a report and give that to the director or to the studio. Well, honestly, to everybody. They would take my advice. They would take, well, not my advice, but my summation of the responses. They'd either choose to listen to me or ignore me, or do something in the middle and then go from there. So that was my job. We would also do that with trailers, commercials, posters. And then we'd also have a quantitative aspect, which is looking at trying to guess how much money a movie would make before it was actually released. And that was it. You know, I could talk more in depth, but there's a lot of stuff I still can't talk about. Probably can never talk about. So anyway, that was my job in a nutshell. What do you tend to think about when you hike? Oh, that's a dark question. Sometimes it ranges from the existence of life to why do my socks smell so bad when I take them off at home? No, it was like, what is the purpose of life? What is life going to be like after I die? To when I come home, is it my feet that smell bad or is it my roommate's feet that smell bad? And it's definitely, it was definitely not one over the other. You had such a range of things that I'd always be thinking about. And the irony of it is, whenever I go on a hike to try and clear my mind or to think about like an answer to like something I was like, a problem I was really having, like whether or not I should leave Los Angeles and go and get my degree, I could never think about that. I would always think about other things that were things I couldn't get an answer to, or things that I could easily get an answer to, like what should I have for dinner tonight? Oh, I want hamburgers, something like that. But I could never focus on anything that I actually tried to focus on. There was a great irony there. What's on your road trip playlist? A lot of, I've heard it called new grass before. It's like bluegrass, but with new age lyrics to it. There's a song, and I'd love to try and get it in the episode somehow. It's from a local band here in Columbus called Honey Bucket, but they have a song called Ohio. And that, more than anything else, I think represented my move back. And I'd love to talk to the band and try and get them to let us stick it in our episode, but we'll see. I also have a great song called Michigan. I love a lot of folk songs that talk about places, rather than people, I guess. I love a lot of folk music, a lot of new age folk music, classic folk music. Some of the some of the older stuff I have a little trouble with when it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? Hollery. I don't know. That I struggle with a little bit. What else? Favorite state to visit? I have to select one. Wyoming, because they have the Tetons. The Tetons, in my opinion, are the most beautiful mountains in the world, and I could spend the next 50 years waking up and looking at them every day. Did I skip anything? Samwar, wow, sounds interesting. You must have a lot of celebrity encounters if you are that close to Hollywood studios ecosystems. Surprisingly, not as much as you'd think. I think I can talk about this one now. One of my favorite was, it was my last week of work, and I was sitting in the bathroom doing what you'd expect. I was thinking, like, man, I really wish I saw more celebrities here while I was in Los Angeles, because my roommates always saw some. My coworkers always seemed to find them all. And I was just, I don't really regret it, but I kind of wish I did see some more. And so I went to wash my hands. I went to grab the door to open the door. The door flew open, whacked me on the shoulder, and it was Dwayne Johnson. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, man." And he just went on to do his stuff. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that was what I was looking for. Good job, universe, for sending me a sign." So that was my best celebrity encounter. I had a few more. I really wish I had run into Harrison Ford on a hiking trail, because apparently he was just getting into hiking about around the time I had just started filming with the guys. That would have been an experience. Word Giraffe, good to see you again. Mine ranges from this weight isn't too bad to why the FK did I choose hiking when I could be at home? My legs hurt. Oh man, I'm so hungry. Yeah, that's been there too, especially when when your stomach's starting to rumble and you're not feeling too good. What hobbies other than hiking do you have? Are you a music guy or a movie buff or a book dude? I wish I was more into books. I love the idea of books. I just have such a hard time reading nonfiction, because my mind just gets so distracted. I'll say I'm a movie buff, but my movie buff friends would laugh at me. Uh, I love cooking, but I've met people who can really cook, like my mom and even Andrew, and they can run laps around me in certain areas. I will say I've gotten pretty good at cooking a lot of different types of meat. Well, not even. I've gotten good at cooking certain types of meat, and I'm looking to improve on that a little bit more. But I guess TV and movies are kind of where I have a lot of interest in, mostly just because that's what I studied and that's what I kind of like to balance with my hiking. What else do I like to do? That's pretty much. I love planning. I really just love, I guess I'd say marketing too, coming up with things ideas for marketing. I never really act on them, and I should probably write them down some more, but that's what I like. William McKean, Andrew has the most outlandish cooking style I've ever seen, but hey, it works. Yeah, it is infuriating, which is why I don't let him. Just why I don't let him touch a lot of my cooking stuff when we're out on the trail, because he will dirty it up. He will ruin it. He doesn't care, because that's his style of cooking. But hey, it's good meal, and he always ends up cleaning it at some point or other. I just cannot walk with grimy food in my pack that stinks up my pack for 2 or 3 days. Alan, how's it going, Alan? If Robby and Andrew couldn't make it up Mount Whitney, did you have a contingency to do it alone? That's a good question because the first time I tried to climb Mount Whitney, I went with my friend Allie, and I totally could have made it to the top, but she did not. She was not able to. And so the the risk taker in me said, "Yeah, I might have made it up. I might have gone without the two of them, but in all practicality, that would not have been good hiking practice, especially when we're filming. We need to do our best to give show good practices of hiking. Does that make sense? Because you're kind of under a microscope when you do that type of stuff. Which is why, I mean, we already practice leave no trace as best as we can, but we absolutely make sure we do that when we're on camera because we want to teach. We want to make sure that people understand the risks of this type of stuff. I'm sure I would have made it up just fine. It would have been probably a personal journey. It would have had a different outcome. I might not have thought about the ending the same way if I had just gone up by my own, but I'm sure I could have. But hey, they were able to, and I'm very glad that they were able to join me on top of that. Word giraffe. Cooking is the one thing I just don't get. That's fine. My roommate hated cooking. He burnt hot dogs, which is very hard to do. Drawing, I can't do drawing either. Robby, Bryan, and Andrew all are amazing artists. Andrew in particular he's fantastic, and I'm so envious of his ability to do that type of work. Yeah, you should write them down. I read an article a few years back about a successful dude that went successful, had bankruptcy, and did it again. He spent an hour every day writing down ideas. Yeah, I should probably do that. I've recently just started doing on my phone a things to do list. I have a immediate list, a short term list, and then a long term list of things that I want to do. And short term might be, I don't know, get a haircut tomorrow. Sorry, immediate would be get a haircut tomorrow. Long term would be get new tires in the next few weeks. Was that short term? That should have been short term. Long term would have been, I don't know, plan a road trip on the East Coast. So those are some things. What else do we do? Opportunity for preparation meets. I forget the rest of the quote. Okay, I'll look it up. Really liked your local. Oh, hi Mike, how's it going? Really liked your local LA hikes. I avoid LA and always hike in Sierras. Thanks for showcasing local LA hikes, but wish you made more Sierras. So many mountains and lakes to see and so little time. You are absolutely right. If there was one thing that could have kept me in Los Angeles for a few more months, it would have been the idea that I could have hiked the Sierras a little bit more. It wasn't until last year that I actually just started hiking the Sierras on my own. And I only did 2 or 3 hikes up there from Los Angeles. And I regret that so much. I went to Chicken Springs Lake and some areas in the Golden Trout Wilderness. And there's so much more to do up there. That's one thing I really regret about leaving Los Angeles this early. Does Andrew cook like that at home too? Yes. Bryan, I don't know if Bryan's on the stream here, but Bryan can vouch for me. He is very messy. You go, but when he wants, but he's a fantastic cook though. I mean, he'll go there and he'll cook some stuff. Sometimes he posts his meals on Adventure Archives Instagram. I post a lot of my meals on my Instagram, which is Grievous Guy 64. But you can follow me on Instagram. I've had a few things like that. Sanwar, how did the Adventure Archives guys meet? Who are you closest to? I'm going to say I'm probably closest to Andrew just because of age, but really we're all really good friends. And that's the only reason I think Andrew has a one up on the other guys is Andrew is 2 years older than me. Bryan and Robby are 9 years older than me. So when you are 12 years old, it's a lot easier to have a 14-year-old friend than it is to have a 21-year-old friend. Because when you're 21, you don't really want to be hanging out with a 12-year-old that much. But luckily, when you're 32. Well, are they 9 years older than me? I'm 24. Yeah, Robby's 33. I'm 24. Yeah, I think Bryan might be 8 years older than me. Robby's 9 years older than me. Anyway, it's a lot more acceptable to have a 24-year-old friend when you're 33 than to have a 12-year-old friend when you're 21. If my math is right. Oh, Andrew was my neighbor, closest neighbor to my age. Bryan is his brother. Robby's their cousin, and so I'd always just hang out with them because there's always something going on at their household, and they were fantastic at including me in everything. Where Giraffe, do you have a short-term list A, B, and C, and a long-term list A, B, C, and D? Every time I make a list, it keeps splintering. The lists are relatively new to me. I don't know how well it's going to go, but we'll see. I will keep you posted, and next month I'll tell you how that's going. Esther, how's it going? Good to see you. This is Esther. I enjoyed your LA hikes too. It's great to see hikes so close to the city. Did you ever hike in town like Griffith? Is it Griffith or Griffin Park? I'm going to say Griffith Park and Hollywood Hills. I did go to Runyon Canyon once, and I have been to Griffith Park a few times. I never did the Hollywood sign or the Tree of Life hike, mostly because if I had, this is borderline snobby, so I apologize, and I hate snobby hikers, but if I had free time to go hiking, I wanted to do a hike that was more isolated. And the last thing I wanted to do was go into a place where I felt like I was hiking in a group of people. And that's always what it's like to hike in Hollywood Hills or Griffith Park. You're always hiking with, beautiful people who have migrated to LA, who are models, for them, this is a workout, and they're running there just completely toned. And here I am with a pack, me and my skinny arms just huffing and puffing up to the top of a mountain just to look at a city from another view. So I never really like views of cities all that much. Andrew does. I just like being there, finding a little tree and sitting there and just kind of being alone. And when someone did walk by, I'd always stop and say hi to them because you don't really see a whole lot of people. And anyone who's out that far with you, at least most of the time, they're decent people. So I like talking to them. Andrew's cooking is fearless. That is the best way to describe Andrew's cooking. It is fearless for sure, Amy. William McKean, Bryan and Robby are 9 years older. I had no idea it was that drastic. I think so. 85 and 93, so 8 years older. Bryan's 8 years older. Robby's 9 years older. Andrew is 2 years older. 2 years older minus 1 day, because I was born June 20th. He was born June 21st, and so we like to celebrate birthdays together sometimes. Mike, it was so funny to see you guys interface and to realize how little planning the team does, and you seem to be the planner. It's hilarious. Great dynamics. Bryan does a lot of planning on his own, so I'm curious to see how I can partner and work with him on future stuff out here. Every hike I had done prior to Big Sur with the guys that I had planned, I had been to before, and I had meticulously planned. So it'll be interesting to see how some of my hiking plans go out here, because I don't really know the environment as well. Even though I spent 20 years here, I never really went hiking. It was only until I moved to the West. Robby's on the chat now. He's Thomas's father. Bart, how's it going? Good evening. Of all the places you have hiked, which location did you not expect much, but were very impressed? And which one did you have high expectations and were somewhat let down? I'm going to say the thing that got me to hiking in the first place, which is the Tetons. When I was in 7th grade, my uncle took my family to Yellowstone and to the Tetons. I didn't really know what to expect, and me being a teenager, I was not a grateful teenager. I said, okay, it's just another family trip I have to go on. And that kind of awoke something in me that I just haven't been able to shut up, and I really don't want to shut up yet. It's just something that has grown inside me for a while. And so that was probably the most inspiring hike I've taken. Least inspiring, I think I actually just talked about, was hiking near Hollywood. You know, beautiful scenery if you love cities. I just did not like hiking anywhere there's a crowd of people blasting music and hiking to impress other people. That's not what I'm about. Good for you, them. I'm not trying to be a snob. I'm genuinely not trying to be a snob, but I just can't get into that much. The further you go, the more open the people are. That is very true. You have similar beards. Robby and I have some. Robby doesn't have a beard. What are you talking about? I do need to get my beard very well trimmed. Everyone's saying hi to Robby. To pull up a chair and rest your own old bones. Exactly. Juan Carlos, who is from the Los Angeles area, or at least Southern California area, agrees. Griffith Park is cool, but I like to hike trails less traveled. I hiked to Smith Mountain yesterday and only saw one guy and his dog coming down. I had to peek off. That's what it's all about for me. Is I love this, like the solitude of it all. I love being out there and just being able to relax for however long you need to. All right, we got 10 minutes left, and I do kind of have to wrap it up at around 10 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock Eastern time. So let's go through any other questions you might have in the next 10 minutes before you say goodbye to me for a month. Did you ever visit the Channel Islands? No, that was originally going to be one of our hiking places before we did Big Sur. I saw the Channel Islands all the time from hiking the Santa Monica Mountains, but never actually got to go. And frankly, the boat fare out there was just too darn expensive to justify a day trip for me. I would need the guys to come out and to film something with me because I don't feel like I could have done it justice with just me and my poor camera skills. Amy, who has the best sense of orientation during hikes? I'm going to say me, but I think everyone else will say themselves too. Only because I have never gotten lost on a hike. Andrew definitely has. I think Bryan relies on Andrew, so I don't know for sure. I think Bryan probably has a good sense of orientation, but we can't rely on Andrew for orientation all the time. I trust Andrew, if I were to get lost, more than me to read a map and compass and to get us out of there. But send me in the woods. I'm pretty good at remembering how to get back. Let's see what else we got. Also, is the LA River as shabby as it looks in the pictures? The LA River. So I only know parts of the LA River, and I actually used to work next to the LA River when I was at CBS. It was not a river; it was a channel. It was just concrete, like the bottom was concrete, and it would. I don't know what to say. It was just concrete where I saw it. River in quotation marks is exactly the best way to describe it. Are you interested in going to Iceland sometime? Of course I'm interested in going to Iceland. I'd love to go to Iceland. I just need to find airfare. I know it's supposed to be cheap, but I got to make sure that I go during the right time. I've also heard the cheapest thing about going to Iceland is literally just going to Iceland. Once you get to Iceland, everything is expensive there. So we'll see. I was going to ask if you have gotten lost, but I figured you haven't. Have I gotten lost? I try not to get myself in situations where I could get lost. I have one time I did miss my trail exit, and that was because I was on the phone. And I was mad because my camera had just broken. That was in the Saddleback Butte video. If you haven't watched that, it's an interesting video. I was on the phone. I was complaining to somebody, and I just needed to calm down. And because I was on the phone, I was talking, I wasn't paying attention, especially in the desert. Everything looks like a trail in the desert. And so I realized probably about 15 minutes after the fact that I had missed my exit. But the good news is I knew where the trail was going, and it would intercept with another trail, and it added maybe another 20 minutes to my hike. But I wasn't complaining. It wasn't too hot. So I think that's probably the worst case I've been in. of recent. Probably some stuff before I actually got into hiking. But let's see what else we got. Jason, are you guys going to put your picture in the AA channel's thumbnail? When I look at it, I always feel so incomplete. That's something I'll leave for the guys. I don't feel comfortable going in and changing the picture to include me, but we also need to have a good picture that shows all four of our faces. And right now, that's really tough to do because once you add me into the mix, it's everyone's face gets a lot tighter, if that makes sense. And I think it's important that we have everyone's face on. We have as many people's faces on our thumbnail as we can rather than having just a symbol. Because a lot of people aren't interested in joining or subscribing to a YouTube channel if people's faces aren't on there. There's actually studies that show that. Amy, ever had a paranormal encounter while in the remote wilderness? I've gotten creepy feelings. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I don't believe in ghosts, but you better believe I will not bring a Ouija board anywhere where there could be ghosts, if that answers your question. And when we were at the plantation in New Orleans, we had access to the grounds at night, and I definitely got the heebie-jeebies there. And the guys could talk about that a little more, but I'm not going to. It was spooky. Luigi, dang, we used to ride our bikes through the LA River when I was a kid. It was a shortcut to my friend's place, talking back to the 70s and 80s. Hey, I'm sure some parts of the LA River is still just fine. In fact, I know kind of towards the other side of Los Angeles, not near the valley where I lived and worked. I know that there is a bike trail, but I do know that that's being really overtaken by the homeless population there. But that's all I know about that. I never really got to hike it. Meld all four faces into one. There we go. We'll just do that. We'll have a superhuman of Bryan, Andrew, Robby, Thomas. Oh, let's see. Venture Archives. That must be coming from somebody else besides me. Oh, don't want to leave. Don't want to leave. Cancel. I'll let you guys. Okay. Got a new tab. Okay. That's not a bad idea, actually. I do like that. Did I see Infinity War? Yes, I saw Infinity War. I'm not going to talk about it, though, because I'm afraid other people have not seen it. I'll say it was really, really well done for as many characters as they had to do. I think my disappointment in the movie only lies in the fact that I don't know how they're going to end it. And I wish it was such a, anyway, I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm not going to give my full opinion until I've seen the second part. So we'll see about that. Recreate the Queen's shot from Bohemian Rhapsody. We could totally do that. Appreciate you not talking about it. Have tickets for Saturday. Yeah, I'm sorry if I've already spoiled some of it, but go see it. It's good. Meld Greedo in there. Oh, Robby, we should definitely, I don't know, I assume that's Robby talking right now, but yeah, we should definitely put Greedo in the middle somehow. All right, we got 3 more minutes here, and then I'm probably going to go head over to Andrew and Andrew's place and bug him because I haven't seen him since the road trip, really. What else can I do for you guys? I would show you my room, but my room isn't ready to be shown, so yeah, I will say you can see the 3 national park posters I have right there. Daryl, how's it going? Good to see you. Go for a lightning round. Am I a big football fan? No, I'll say that. I am whoever fan I need to be right now. I am a Benedict Arnold. So when I'm with my family and my girlfriend, I'm a Michigan fan, and when I'm at school, I'm a not good Buckeye fan, I guess. Dogs all the way. I will not sing you a song just because I suck at singing. Like, I cannot sing one bit. I know you love to climb mountains. Any goals for other peaks? Yes. Really want to do Grand Teton. I really want to do Mount Rainier, Mount Hood. I'd love to do Denali, but that's some serious stuff, and I can't imagine doing that. Shasta is a big one I want to do. The Teton for me would be the Grand Teton would be the next big one, but I really need a guide for that, and that can be pricey. Soccer, sure. I when it comes to sports, the only one that I can really sit there and I can watch is hockey, but I don't follow hockey. Someone has a ticket for it, I'll sit there and I'll watch it and I'll really get into the game. Favorite U.S. state? Wyoming, I'm going to say. Although I am partial to Michigan, Louisiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, California. That doesn't answer your question, I know. Are Panthers and Cougars, Pumas, and Mountain Lions the same thing? Sure, why not? I don't really know. I've heard that they are. I've heard that they're not. I only recently discovered that crows and ravens are different. So that was news for me too. Would you do Mount Mitchell, tallest mountain in the Appalachians? Yes, because that's near Asheville. So actually, I want to do that this summer. Please come to Japan with the gang next time. Great mountain climbing here. Yes, I would love to go to Japan. Where giraffe? What? What are you whatting to? Mount Everest? I would love to go to the base camp of Mount Everest, but that's probably as far as I'm going to go. Crows and ravens are different. Yeah, I think ravens are bigger. Ravens you can actually find in California, while crows are more in the Midwest and Canada, I think. Yeah, take a look at that, because I think I misquoted a bunch of crows as ravens in some of my earlier videos. So that's one thing that you pick up in Ohio. There's a lot more birding in Ohio. Ah, interesting. The magpie. All right, what else? And then I gotta wrap things up here. What looks like it is I who has to go. Shalom, Thomas. Thanks for a good one. Bye, William. Thank you so much for joining. If you could interview anyone in the world, who would it be? Right now, I really just want to talk to Anthony Bourdain, because I'm really curious on a lot of his stuff, but I feel like I need to. I know he's written books, and I need to read some of his books, and I'd probably get a lot of answers through there. I really like Abraham Lincoln. Really interested what Teddy Roosevelt would say about a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. The problem is a lot of these there is no one single person that I can completely identify with and get behind. And there are a lot of people I'd like to ask them questions like you would have a normal conversation nowadays about their thoughts on a lot of things. And I would be just as interested to talk to John Muir as I would to Abraham Lincoln at this point, honestly. So yeah, that's not really a great answer, but that's it. Have you ever seen a pigeon in the wild? I don't know. I've seen pigeons not in the wild, and maybe I don't even know if there are pigeons in the wild anymore. Maybe there are. Daryl, thanks, Thomas. Looking forward to seeing more. Yep, I'm in Ohio. I'm hoping to post some more stuff in Ohio. Jason, thanks for coming in. Where Giraffe, thanks for coming in. Serena, thanks for coming in. Thank you so much for all you guys. I know you guys always come to these things, and I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, I mean, you guys, I think most of you guys follow me on Instagram already. If not, it's Grievous Guy 64. Here, I'll just type it in. And feel free to message me if you have any more questions. Guys, I hope to have some more content for you guys soon. We have so much stuff to do. I know the guys are really working hard on the new episode, but we really need to start working on some of the side videos that we have going too. I'm glad that my room is almost done and that I can finally free myself up to start doing some more Adventure Archive stuff. Andrew and Bryan should stop being sick of me soon. Actually, I think we're not sick of each other anymore, so we can start working again on things, because a month of living together and 2 weeks of spending time together in a car really presses a friendship. And I think we're good now. So let's hope that starting this week, we're able to get the ball rolling and going from there. So anyway, thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in a month or so. If not, feel free to ask me questions. And that is it. Toodles.